After the trailer for the new episode dropped, what we saw has only increased the likelihood that something akin to what happened with Kaufmo or a process like abstraction could occur with some of the characters. In this video, we'll explore the probability of each character engaging in a significant or even terrible action. Let's not waste any more time and dive straight into our analysis of these intriguing possibilities. We'll start by eliminating Kane and Bubble from our analysis, since they are artificial intelligences. Their roles in the series are more functional than character-driven, so we will focus on the characters who are at risk. Let's begin with Kinger, who is arguably one of the most calm and balanced characters. However, there is a significant chance that he might be the next to become abstracted. It's surprising that Kinger has lasted as long as he has, given how psychotic and fearful he appears to be. His mental instability makes it easy to see him crossing over into an abstracted state, but we must look deeper into his behavior. Kinger's mental health has been questionable for a while, and it's clear that he's been mentally deteriorating. But there's an old adage, what breaks once can't be broken again. This might be true for Kinger. He has already been through so much psychological trauma that it's possible he's learned how to manage his inner demons. His long-standing craziness might actually be a defense mechanism, allowing him to avoid being completely abstracted. Despite everything, Kinger often seems rational and even brave at times. For example, he interacts confidently with Gloink Queen and bravely rushes to save Zubal in another episode. One character, Zubal, even speculated that Kinger could be the next to fall, which could be a subtle hint. Still, this doesn't necessarily mean Kinger will meet his end by the close of the season. Personally, I hope that Kinger can overcome his fears and continue to develop. If he manages to survive, he might play a crucial role in uncovering the long-sought exit. But for now, the possibility of Kinger becoming abstracted remains uncertain, though not entirely out of the question. Moving on to Gangle, she seems to be in even more danger of falling into abstraction. Gangle has always struggled with her confidence, and it's likely that her loss of self-assurance will be her undoing. Some might think that the solution is simple. Gangle just needs to wear her comedy mask and everything will be fine. Unfortunately, the digital world is far more complex than that, and Gangle's problems won't disappear with the flip of a mask. Yes, she can switch between her comedy and tragedy masks, but I'm convinced that her true face is the tragedy mask. This theory is supported by several hints, including words from Gooseworx and a specific leak about Gangle's dark room. If you look closely, you'll notice that the walls of her room are filled with comedy masks, but there's not a single tragedy mask in sight, which suggests that her true face is hidden beneath her outward attempts to smile. We also can't forget the New Year's illustration, where Zubal gives Gangle a comedy mask, and Gangle smiles. But interestingly, Gangle can smile even while wearing her tragedy mask. This strongly suggests that the tragedy mask might be her true face. Gangle could potentially survive, but only if she manages to overcome her internal despair, which seems to be edging closer to full-blown depression. If she doesn't deal with these feelings, she's likely to meet a tragic end. If not in the very next episode, then surely in the ones that follow. However, depression and despondency are emotions that don't quite fit our next character, Zubal. Despite this, I believe Zubal is a strong candidate for abstraction. On the surface, it might seem crazy to suggest this, as there doesn't appear to be any obvious signs pointing toward this conclusion. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that Zubal doesn't identify as a traditional person. She lacks a clear sense of identity, whether she is a he, a she, or perhaps even an it. For simplicity's sake, let's think of Zubal as female for now. What might happen to Zubal in the next few episodes? We already know that the third episode will focus heavily on her, and while she's safe in the short term, her long-term survival is in question. Zubal carries a chest filled with various parts of herself, and it's likely that we've only seen a small fraction of her true self. This chest symbolizes her lack of identity, which could be a huge problem for her in the future. A character without a clear sense of self can become anything, which poses a serious risk for abstraction. The third episode might force Zubal to make a life-changing decision, to discard her old self and fully accept who she truly is, or to continue living in this undefined. If Zubal can make the right choice and embrace her true self, she may survive. But if she continues to remain in limbo, unsure of who she is, this internal conflict could lead to her downfall. Despite the risks, I believe Zubal will make it to the end of the season. Still, there's a small chance she could be the next to fall. A recent leak from Gooseworx showed an image that looked very similar to the final scene of the pilot, but Zubal was conspicuously absent. Was this just a playful misdirection, or was it a subtle hint about her future? Only time will tell, but I remain worried about what Gooseworx has in store for her. Let's now move on to a fan favorite, Jax. Out of all the characters, Jax might have the highest chance of becoming abstracted. Even though Jax tries to present himself as a tough guy who doesn't care about the feelings of others, we know this is just a mask he wears. Deep down, Jax isn't as strong as he pretends to be. His frequent mockery of the other characters, especially Gangle, is a clear indication of his inner vulnerability. Jax needs the other characters not because he cares about them, but because their reactions feed his sense of superiority. What would happen if Jax found himself in a situation far worse than the awkward moments he enjoys watching others endure? Imagine a scenario where Jax is forced to reveal his true self, a scared, insecure, and vulnerable character. This could happen in the form of a challenge from Kane or a disastrous event, such as the collapse of the digital circus's basement, unleashing a horde of abstracted monsters. If Jax is pushed to his breaking point, his response will be fascinating to watch. Will he grow from the experience, admit his faults, and apologize to those he's wronged? Or will he shrink in the face of danger and show his true cowardice? If Jax reveals his weaker side, he may alienate the others, and this isolation could ultimately lead him to abstraction. Now let's talk about Ragatha. She is, without a doubt, one of the most visually captivating characters in the series. In the pilot episode, we were given a strong indication that Ragatha might be the next to fall, not because of any mental health issues, but because she was physically infected by a monster. Had Kane not intervened, the consequences for Ragatha could have been catastrophic. Although Ragatha generally seems carefree, her underlying anxiety is becoming more apparent as the episodes progress. She constantly tries to act like everything is fine, even though she is deeply troubled by the bizarre events unfolding around her. Ragatha's tendency to focus on the positive while ignoring the negative may seem like a good strategy, but it's clear that this approach is taking its toll on her mental health. What's interesting about Ragatha is that she tries to deceive herself more than anyone else. She suppresses her true feelings, which prevents her from fully expressing herself when situations demand it. If Ragatha continues on this path, she will eventually push herself to the brink of madness. This double life, trying to be both cheerful and deeply worried, will likely lead her down the road to abstraction. Finally, let's turn our attention to the main character, Pomni. As the key figure of the entire circus, it's easy to assume that Pomni is safe from abstraction. However, the pilot episode showed us that Pomni is far from invincible. There are serious signs that she, too, could transform into an abstracted monster. Gooseworx has a brilliant mind, and I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to take Pomni in this direction. Such a twist would certainly make for a compelling and dramatic story arc. What do you think about this trailer? Post your guesses or theories to me in the comments, or maybe I missed something. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and watch my next videos.